Okay, so sometimes we do everything right. We get past the head, we get past the hands, and our partner still sprawls on us. Now, one of the big things that we have to remember is that when we end up getting on our partner and they break us down, we cannot unlock our hands. If we have our hands connected around our partner and if we end up letting our hands disconnect, once our hands disconnect, our partner can start to square up easier with us and occupy more of a front headlock. If they occupy that front headlock, now they can run a whole bunch of offense off us from here, whether it be guillotines, darts, anacondas, the whole systems that they know. So to prevent that, what we have to do is make sure that our hands do not break apart. Now, when we first start to like get out of the position, we're learning how to put ourselves back into position by regaining our posts. Now, from the top, I did everything right. I pushed into my partner, got in the step, got past their head, got past their hands. He begins sprawling to hit his knee to the mat, and he's covering my head. As he's covering my head, I can't let these hands unlock, so I'm going to take my hands and adjust them to go palm to the back of my hand. This now allows me to start to straighten my arms, and I can start to use my lats and my traps to pull my hands back towards my hips. This now effectively helps me put my post back into position. Now I can't stay around here for too long. It's going to be obviously very tiring. I have to carry all 300 pounds of Caleb over here. As we build these posts back up, we're going to go ahead and get our elbow and our hip to the side of his knee at the same time. As we tip our elbow and knee, this allows us to now start stepping around my partner's hips. I'm going to cut the front of his knee as I start to walk my feet behind him, far enough my knee on the inside of his ankle. I'm going to put some slight pressure to turn my partner away from me by moving my knee into their ankle. This will keep him away from me, usually keeping the effectiveness of his whizzer down. Now that his leg has become light because of my pressure, I can lift up on this ankle and place it onto my hip. We'll transition control from inside hand on his knee to outside hand. Now we can keep pressure with our shoulder and elbow pulling back so that we can now begin driving into our partner. This discourages our partner from turning back to face us, and he's more inclined to face away. As he's faced away, we can use this to drive into him. We're going to take our rear hand to collect his ankle from the bottom side, and as we continue to push into him, he'll have to make it a choice to either put his hands on the ground or end up getting put in a weird position. Now, once we've been able to drive him all the way forward, we can keep our weight on top of him and we move our hips past his. So, did everything right. Hold that leg, changed the elevation, connected my hands. That sprawl comes on, and now I'm low. I need to readjust my hands so that I can straighten my arms, and now use my traps and my lats at the same time to pull my hands to my hip. This allows me to post my hands on the ground, putting myself back in a better wrestling position. I can drop my elbow and hip at the same time as I begin to cut the corner. I cut the knee, I walk backwards. I'm going to go ahead and use my knee to get behind my partner's ankle. This helps kill the effectiveness of his whizzer so that he really can't put any weight on my shoulder anymore. As I start to put pressure on the inside of my partner's ankle, he'll be forced to turn to face and look away from me. This makes the leg light, so I can pick his ankle up and shelf it onto my hip. I connect my hand around his thigh as I switch responsibility with my rear hand towards the ankle. I use my shoulder and head to go ahead and drive him flat so that I can usually get his legs stacked together, and we can start entering into a guard passing situation from here. Now, if our partner's not doing what they're supposed to do by covering the back of my head when they sprawl, we can usually start to lift our head up so that we can start to create driving into the opposite, back into our partner. Now, when I pull connect on my single leg. This wizard's coming down to create that ability to drop his knee, right? As he drops his knee to the ground, my body's starting to get broken down and my arms are getting extended, making the position heavy. Now, he's not covering my head, as you can see. And I will have to do this through feel. If my head is not getting pushed down, that means I can start to raise my head up. As I raise my head up, I'm going to go ahead and post my leg in front of my partner's hips, so that as I drive my head up, I can now pull the hands to my center line as I pull my partners back down towards the mat. Push into them, pull their legs, grab. They begin sprawling, and they do not cover our head. So when they don't cover our head comes up, our foot posts, and now when we drive back into them with our head, we can pull with our hands and begin knocking them down to the mat. We'll end up controlling their hips usually, and to secure this position, because most of the time in jiu-jitsu, our partner is going to want to turn to face into us. We can go ahead and secure this leg as we drive our knee across to trap their hips. One last time. Push in, turn in. He begins to sprawl, and that begins to break me down. My head's not being covered, so my head can come up, my foot can step out, and as I look, I turn and tip them. Secure their hip with my same side arm as I shuffle my knees around to look for my leg drag position. Third option is the peek out, or what some of us refer to as the sit out. When I get sprawled on, there's a couple things that my partner can do. They can cover their head with they can cover my head with their hand to use that to push down, or I completely miss the cover. A third thing that they can do is use their hips to cover my head. Now, if both of their hips are covering my head, my partner's weight is directly over the top of me. The way that we can start to adjust through this is by understanding how to use a peek out. Now that my head can't lift up directly into my partner's hips, I have to take another angle towards the outside. Now, I'm gonna give my partner a choice. His face on the mat or his hands on the mat. He's gonna choose his hands if he's intelligent. So, we begin entering into our same exact attack with our single leg. When we begin, we get sprawled on. He begins squaring up with us. Now, my head is usually down to the mat, and I can't raise it up towards his hips because they're too heavy. So, my head's gonna go ahead and I'm gonna peek out to the other side. As my head peeks out to the other side, I'm gonna use this to step that corresponding leg up. I'm gonna slide my knee through as I drive my elbow back so that I can start to get out from underneath my partner. This puts me in a position where I can directly start attaching myself to my double leg, and as I use my feet, I'm just going to drive my partner the hips to the ground, and I can begin shelfing or pushing their legs all the way over into a leg drag situation. So, again, we push for the single. We pull this leg forward. We get sprawled on, and as they cover us, we can start switching our head at this point. Head, foot, elbow. Now we can attach, and we can use this to directly run our double. If for some reason we have a partner who isn't knowledgeable at putting their hands on the ground to protect their face, it'll give us instant access to behind their back. It'll look something like this. Do it slow so you don't give your partner an involuntary concussion. We pull the head. As he sprawls and squares up with us, as my sequence starts, he won't use his hands to stop himself. And here, I have access to my partner's backside, where I can start to come around and directly get behind them so that I can either dominate them from behind, or I can start my sequence to attack my partner's back. So, defending a single leg can rather be simple. Our partner obviously is a pretty decent wrestler. They were able to pick up our leg and make it relatively light. Now, there's a lot of different defenses that are shown out there, and in all honesty, it's not my place to go ahead and tell you which one's right and which ones are wrong. This is purely from my perspective on the easiest way to work ourselves out of a bad wrestling position so that we can get back into a good position as quickly as possible. The longer we stay in position where our partner is able to off-balance us, the easier it's going to be for them to eventually keep moving us to knock us down and score. And if you're not comfortable at getting taken down and playing guard, then you don't want to be taken down at the end of the day. So, my partner goes ahead and pick my single leg. When my partner picks my single leg, he has pretty good head position right here. I can't really drive my chest down and pull my leg towards the ground at this point, so I need to add some assistance with my hands, right? He beat my head, he pretty much beat my hands. My hands are pretty much here trying to push him away. Instead of trying to fight with these hands, I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to make a V with my thumbs. I'm going to get underneath his chin and his neck so that I can push directly up. Now I can place my head underneath my partner's chin. And from here, it's very difficult for him to try to run the pipe for a single leg. If he tries to run the pipe for the single leg, he'll never be able to turn me around and keep off balancing me as efficiently as possible. This now gives me opportunities to cup onto these elbows. I'm going to pull on his elbows towards my rib cage to make his elbows flare. As I make his elbows begin to flare out, this gives me a shot at straightening my leg towards the ground. And I do have my head lower than my partner, so it'll be difficult for him to level change on me again. And I might as well think about implementing some offense directly off here. My arms are long enough, I can connect my hands around my partner for an S grip, and now I can begin that same pivot and turn movement that we had earlier for our body lock takedown. You can as well just push to reset. If my partner picks that and I feel not comfortable at implementing a body lock takedown, I can go ahead, flare his elbows, step down, and as long as my head is underneath my partner, I can go ahead and push back into my partner to get back to my offensive position. If I am relatively confident in my ability to change levels and shoot, as I begin pushing my partner up and placing my head underneath, we flare the elbows, stomp our leg down, our leg is back in the inside position. Nothing is going to stop us now from trying to change levels on our partner. As we change levels, we're below our partner's center of gravity, where now we can start connecting on the back of their thighs, getting my knee to the mat, cutting the corner, running my knee to the other side so that I can get my lift in and get my big bust wheel takedown, so that now I can score 2 points. Single leg picked up. A common concept in wrestling is when you go from defense, you want to find your way back into a good position so that you can go right back to being on offense. Last time, he pushes into me, he pulls, he attaches to that single leg, comes to his neck, push up, head underneath. We can flare these elbows as we get our foot to the ground. Now we can go ahead and change elevation to squat so that we can get our shot through and we can get our lift into our double leg. Now, my partner began picking my single leg up, and if their head is not on their shoulder, then we're not able to begin pushing up on their neck to make their elevation. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attempt to push my partner's head to the side. Now that I can push my partner's head to the side, I have to actually be rather careful because a good skilled wrestler is going to go ahead and take his outside arm and begin digging for my heel. And as he digs for that and he stands up, we can start getting off balance as he puts like our leg on his shoulder and starts moving us all around. So in order to prevent stuff like that from happening, when the single leg gets picked up, we can go ahead and try to secure that far side wrist as we start to push on that head. We can now get our head into better position so that we can begin defending against our partner. If we can push our partner's head out of position, then from here, I can now go to my elbows to begin stepping down, and I can act that same offense that I just did earlier. We can look for our body lock, or we can look to change elevation so that we can shoot underneath and begin running our feet to the other side to work our double leg. Push in, 3 steps. We have that single leg. Now, let me go palm to palm on the other side. Now, we don't want this hand to pick our ankle up, so we're going to go ahead and connect to this wrist. We're going to use this to push his head off to the side so that we can get our head back into position. Now that our head's back into position, we can go ahead and start to pull on his elbows as we stomp our foot down. And now we can dominate the inside position with our leg. We have a body lock. We have our change in elevation to our double leg takedown. We can run, we can lift, and we can begin our part. So, what we want to be able to prevent to do is our partner from cutting the corner. When we sprawl on a single leg takedown, we're going to go ahead and assume that our partner knows all the same offenses that we know. So, with cutting the corner, what I can't allow my partner to do is step their foot over my rear leg. If they step over my rear leg, then they can begin trapping my ankle to the ground so that they can begin to get the corner. As he begins pushing on that single leg, my hand is going to push down on his head so that I can change responsibility to pushing down with my other hand. This other hand is going to drive straight down underneath his armpit so that I can begin stepping this leg back to put my knee to the ground. This is what the effect is how to get my partner in the extended position. Now, from here, I have to secure my ankle because I know that my partner is probably going to start cutting the corner. As he begins to circle around, I'm going to go ahead and attach myself to what's known as a shin whizzer. When I use a shin whizzer, I'm not actually grabbing my shin bone, I'm grabbing my ankle or the top of my foot. And if my partner attempts to step over the top of my foot, I'm pulling my heel to my butt to prevent him from being able to step over. Now, what I'm going to do in order to attempt to break my partner's grip is I'm going to begin squaring up to keep weight on the back of my partner's head. As I begin squaring up, I'm going to go ahead and pull that ankle with me so that I can keep him. Now, once I'm here, I'm going to put my shoelaces into the mat, and I'm going to start to extend my leg out. As I extend my leg out, this will either begin to separate my partner's hands, or it won't. To make it even more amplified, I can take my hands to post onto his hips. We call this scrolling our hips back, right? So we're going to rock back and forth as we scoot ourselves back until we can get our shoulder into the back of our partner's neck. Once we get our shoulder into the back of our partner's neck, we want to take a chin strap so we can control our partner from a relatively safe front headlock position. Now, we can take control of their far elbow as well, and And as we control their far elbow, we can push it across the center line so that we can now take our chin strap off and block behind their armpit. We can begin running our knee through so that now we can reverse it and turn our corner and end up on top of our partner's top turtle position. There's a couple of other tricks that you can do in order to secure your partner's back much easier, which we'll go over right now. As he picks up that single leg takedown, head, overhook, knee, reinforce my shin whizzer so that my partner can try to turn that corner around. He shouldn't be able to trap my ankle, so from here I can begin squaring up. As I square up, I can straighten my leg to put my shoelaces into the mat and begin scrolling my hips back. My shoulder scoots all the way back until I get my shoulder into the back of my partner's neck. Now, we look for our chin strap and we can look for our elbow control. To prevent my partner from bringing his elbow to connect with his knee, I'm going to place my head in the hole. When I place my head in the hole, when my partner tries to pull his elbow back, it's going to become relatively difficult because he'll keep running into my face. So if you're worried about not being handsome anymore, maybe don't practice this move. I can post on my head as I turn my corner. As I'm turning my corner, I'm holding onto this chin strap with a wide elbow to manipulate and keep my partner in this position. My hand can go behind their back and reach for their hip so that now I can let go of their chin as I continue circling around my partner and start to work my knee to the inside. If we went all the way to the far side, usually we might be able to directly throw that far side hook in over the top and begin getting on top of our partner to take their back. Last time, they push into us, they pick that single leg up, and from here I'm going to poke that down to the ground, begin using my whizzer to get my knee down. As they begin cutting the corner, I'm going to grab my shin whizzer to prevent them from cutting. Now, I'm going to go ahead and square up as I get my foot off the ground, kick my shoelaces, swirl my hips back until I can get my shoulder into the back of their neck. We can look for that shin strap control, and now we can start to pull this far elbow across. As we pull the elbow across, we can place our head in the hole so that now we can start to raise our hips up. Now we can start to circle as we pull on this chin strap and begin looking for this far waist control. From here, as we continue to circle, we can let go of that chin strap to work our way all the way behind our partner. Depending on what your type of game is in terms of offense, you can step over to take the back, or you can do a multitude of other things. I advise at taking the back and staying on top, because if I'm on top, my partner's hands are on the ground. When you do learn how to choke them, hands are on the ground, doesn't mean means hands are not around their neck. So. So, wrestling creates stubborn athletes of us all, or stubborn assholes, whatever you kind of work towards. But when we have a partner that's not going to allow us to put our head in the hole and circle around their back, they're relentless about following us around in that circle. When they follow us around in that circle, we're going to use the momentum of them turning so that we can straighten our arm by their neck and use a whip it by. Or if you're at cornball, you can call it the guitar hero. So they begin shooting into us. They pick that single leg up. Same defense the whole time. We square up with them. As we scoot our hips back and we look for that chin strap, when I'm putting my head to the ground, he's trying to keep this elbow connected to his hip. As we spin, I have enough space where I'm on my feet and I can begin straightening my arms. As my partner continues to follow me, I'm going to use that momentum to push the neck and begin exposing my partner's back. The harder that they follow you, the easier it's going to be to whip their head by. If they're not following you too fast, you'll have to make a bigger effort to swing your arm to get them to expose their back. Let's talk about our sprawl. So, if our partner is not beating our head and not beating our hands, if they don't beat our head, they don't beat our hands, we don't have to actually sprawl to go ahead and stop their shot. We're going to use our head. As they begin changing elevation without any real connection, my head comes down to block against their shoulder. Now from here, they can choose to stand all the way back up, and eventually our position will actually reset if we don't enact any offense. But a good rule of thumb is with every piece of defense that you have, there's always going to be a chance to implement some offense. Now, if I have my head connected to my partner's shoulder, as he tries to shoot through me, he'll never make it through because he can't shoot through my spine. Now, since he can't shoot through my spine, we're going to go ahead, he's naturally going to start reaching for my legs. When he begins reaching for my legs, his posture becomes compromised. And I'll emphasize his compromised posture by pushing down on his head. As I push down on his head, he wants to build back up. I'll take an elbow pass behind him so that I can push it across the center line and begin entering in with my own shoulder. Now from here, as I create my connection on my legs, I can get my feet to the other side to just run my elbow. As I lift my toes and begin to take my hand. So they didn't get past their head, they didn't get past their hands. They go ahead and they shoot, my head comes into the position. I can place my hands on the back of their head to prolong them standing up. I connect to that elbow to pass it past the center line, and now I can begin entering into my double leg. Feet run to the other side, don't block my knee there. As I stand up, and I turn, I can begin bringing my partner down. All right. So our partner did beat our head, but they didn't beat our hands. They did something right when they were actually trying to set up their shot. But when they go ahead and they begin shooting for that takedown, if they beat my head, my hands are still in the way to create frames or down blocks. As I create these frames and down blocks, this allows me to press against my partner's upper body as I begin stepping my leg back. Now, if I can step my leg back and create separation between my partner and myself, then I can basically pull my hips away, and now the shot is null. Without my partner doing this to me in the beginning, what it can look like is when my partner ends up beating my hands, my hands go down as my front leg steps back. And as their leg steps back, I'm going to go ahead and shoot my hips back so I can get my hips away from them, and now I can begin squaring back up to reset my position. During the explanation, it's going to be difficult to do this slow, so you'll have to find a partner that has confidence in their shot mechanics to allow you to develop confidence in your sprawling mechanics. We'll attempt to do it slow, and we'll build up a couple reps of building the speed up so that we can kind of see what it begins to look like in real time. He did something right, and he changed elevation faster than I could. My hands go down, my foot goes back, and I can begin to sprawl back. Make sure that my hands touch the ground, not my fingers, so that you don't break your hands. As he begins to shoot, my head down block comes in, I step my foot back, sprawl my hips down, and now I can begin resetting my position. As you become better and better, the same rule is going to apply. For every piece of defense that I enact, when I reset my position and my partner begins setting up, that gives me a chance to get back into an offense position so that I can lift and begin turning my partner so that I can start shooting my double leg takedown. Okay, now, my partner sometimes is going to get past both my head and my hands because sometimes they might do one or two things right. If your partner is in perfect position for their posture, it's going to be pretty difficult to knock them out of position. Typically, what's going to end up happening is I'm going to catch them in the sprawl as they're shooting in, meaning that their head and their posture will be slightly broken. So they can go ahead and have it meet hook's position. They start pushing into me, they get that pull. As he shoots the outside single, from here, we see a slight bend in our partner's back. Now, what we're going to do is we're always going to push down the back of my partner's head. As I push down on the back of my partner's head, this rear hand is driving straight down, but on the same side leg that I have control. As I drive this leg straight down and I push back on their head, I'm going to get my knee to the mat as I try to slide myself back. Now, a good wrestler isn't going to let their hands be disconnected. So from here, we can continue to push on the back of their head as we square up so that we can swirl our hips back and we can enact similar pieces of offense that we had from earlier. Ooh, that was shitty. Yeah. So he pushes in, he attacks that outside single. Now we begin pushing our partner's head down. We use our down block. And while we have our down block, we're using this down block to push into the side of their hip on this side so that we can continue pushing our hips back. From here, as we square ourselves up, we can start to scroll our hips back so that we can attain the chin strap. And now we can begin looking to control their elbow, placing our head in the hole. And as we spin, we can start to enact connection of their hips so that we can get behind our partner. So we're going to do a couple demonstrations of that. So, I don't know what happened. I fell asleep at the wheel. It's probably because last night was full of IPAs and Bloody Marys this morning. And so, or my partner's just a good wrestler, but I don't like to give them credit for anything that they do. It's all mistakes that I make most of the times. When our partner sets everything up right, they get the inside position, they push us, they pull us, and then they keep incredible position as they drop that outside knee and they get that outside single. Pick that leg up. Or put this knee down. That leg up. Okay. From here, this is incredible position that our partner has. I'm not going to be able to just knock him out by trying to pull his head down from here. As you see, if I try to push my partner's head, he's in too good a position for me to go ahead and knock him out. Now, once I'm here, what I'm going to do is have to knock my partner with my hips. When I knock my partner with my hips, this gives me a little bit of space between their head and my ribs so that my same side hand can start to push onto their head. As I push on their head, now this gives me a chance to go ahead and transition control to my opposite hand. Now we can take our sprawl down in this position as we step our foot back using the same exact defense that we just had. All right. Now, breaking the grip, same as before. We slide our hips back, attain our chin strap control, and we can work our offense that we have off of here. Front headlock systems, the whip and lie. When I end up falling asleep at the wheel, and my partner does get a good single leg shot, go ahead, just put yourself in position. When they put a good single leg shot on, I need to get myself away from their hips. From here, it's very easy for them to start circling around to immediately cut the corner. So to prevent that, when I get my partner's head down in this position, when I throw my whizzer in over the top to create that frame, I want to think about circling my hips away. Now, I begin circling my hips away to create extension over my partner over the top of their shoulders. This will make getting my sprawl a lot easier. As I become better at circling away from my position, that is how some wrestlers make it look like when they sprawl. It looks like they're shooting their hips back very, very far. When in reality, what they're doing is doing a half circle around their partner. Now you can do solo drills and kind of look like a goof that's trying to breakdance really shitty. Hello, Australia. But as you have a partner to do this with, when you do bump, push, and begin pushing your partner's head down, when this hand goes down, that's when this leg can start going back for us to be working on sprawl. With our partner, to not be super mean to them, we can try it one last time. Bump, pump, whizzer, sprawl, grab. Now that we're here, if for some reason our partner wanted to stand up from this position, we have our elbow pass so that we can start entering into our elbow, take our lift. Now we can start going back on our offense. This is pretty base knowledge, but our partner was attacking the outside single, and we had to circle away from the shot. Our partner can still attack our front leg, but instead of going around to the outside for an attack, they can go to the inside. When they go on the inside single, we still have to think about circling away from their hips, but we'll actually have less jobs to perform in this position. So if you wouldn't mind, inside single. When we're in this position right here, I have my partner's head on the outside, and their hips are starting to chase this leg. My hand is going to circle back. Be careful that you don't elbow them in the back of the head. Take your arm and circle and kind of cup the back of their shoulder. As you cup the back of their shoulder and you start to circle your hips around, naturally your hips will start to sprawl back, holding your partner's hands over their shoulders and their shoulders past their hips. Now that we've gotten our partner flat, you'll notice that his hands are still connected because he's probably a decent wrestler. You'll see that I'm not able to cover my partner's head with my hips because my hip is off at an angle with his head being on the outside. Typically from right here, even though my partner is stretched out, he can still raise his head up. If his head's looking up and he's strong enough, you see that he's starting to build height to run the double. To prevent him from running the double, I'm going to take my rear hand and go over the far part of his hip to now enact another down blocking frame. As his head comes up, it's going to feed a nice crossface for me. Now, because I like Caleb, I'm going to make sure that I don't punch him in the face when I do this. I'm going to try to go underneath his nose to grab his tricep. Now that I've grabbed his tricep, I can use the frame on his hip and the widening of this elbow to kick my leg free. As I kick my leg free, I can now frame a thigh pry on this elbow, and as I pull and circle my partner's shoulder to make them choose to flatten out. Now, once my partners began flattening out, I can use my head as a third post so that I can start to raise my hips. As I raise my hips, I can start to drive my knee in so that I can step over the top of my partner. From here, obviously, I'm in a pretty good position. If they chose to flatten out, I would take their back and choke them. If they chose to turn to their back, obviously we're going to end up in some type of mounted position right here. Push his head. Inside single. His head is past my arm. If his head isn't past my arm, then we can actually start to push our head down and we can kind of start cranking on their neck. But we have a good wrestler, and he got my hand past his head. We circle our elbow back as we circle our feet away, and we can begin working our straws. I'm off at around a 45-degree angle so that I can start switching my hands to create a post on his opposite hip. His hands are starting to get extended, and as he raises his head up, we can start looking for our crossface. Once we're looking for that crossface right here, we can start to kick our leg back, and now we can start putting pressure over the top of our partner. Once we put that pressure on, we can start throwing our hook in over the top, and we can start to flatten our partner out. Once we flatten our partner out, and we have control of one of their arms, we can start to work our hand across their face and their throat, so that we can start working in a belly down, rear naked choke. Now, usually it's a pretty mean move, but Caleb's a pretty mean guy, so we have to kind of bring a little bit of that heat with us while we're defending. Here we go again. That's beautiful. He got past my head and my hands. I circle as I bring my elbow around to get my sprawl. My hand goes in for my frame. If he doesn't build his head up right away, just stay here, right? Eventually, in order to continue wrestling, he's gonna have to build that head up. As that head comes up, that's when my hand can come in and we can start to trap on that elbow. Don't think about pushing into him with your chest. Just widen this elbow to push his head away, and now we can start to circle our feet. We have this frame on the inside of his hip, and if we're fast enough, we can start to throw our foot over the top, and we can start to flatten our partner out as we pull onto the arm. And now we're in a pretty dominant position from right here. Last time, with no explanation. So, the last thing that we're going to work on is a mat return. Mat returns come in various shapes and sizes, and depending on what style of wrestling is your favorite, some of the things that I may tell you right now, you may not agree with, and that's okay. But this is all with the intention of preserving as much energy as we possibly can. A lot of our offense that we enact from these positions call for trying to put our partner's hands to the ground. So different things can happen. We can take a shot on our partner, and as we take our shot, something happens where we end up coming around our partner and we end up having our hands on the waist. Our partner can collar tie us. We can go ahead, post on them. We hit our slide by. We put their hands on the mat. And now as they're standing up, we can start getting our hands around their waist. If, for some reason, we also snapped our partner down and we got them all the way to a turtle position. If in a turtle position, they started attempting to stand up without fighting the hands, these are all situations that we're going to find ourselves in so that we can try to mat return our partner. Now, mat returns are based off of timing. What I want to do is attempt to work the time that my partner is trying to stand up with the time that I pop my hips. So for here, for all intents and purposes, I'll use a slide by. As my partner's hands touch the mat, you'll notice that I'm not all the way behind my partner. If I'm behind my partner and he begins to stand up, trying to lift him from right here is going to be possible, but it's going to be very energy expenditure as I try to carry him and try to suplex him off the mat. And usually, unless you've been doing Greco, you're not going to be good at that. What you want to do is dip around a 90-degree angle on your partner so that my front leg can block his front leg. This allows it so that when my partner is standing up and I pop my hips, I'm blocking their inside leg with my inside, making it difficult for him to connect his elbow and knee together so that he can go back into building height. Now, we'll go ahead and we'll demonstrate this nice and slow. partner, he's beginning to stand up. As I have connection with my hands, I'm making sure that I stay with my legs around my partners. I'm gonna pop my hips up as I turn my partner down to the ground. As I turn my partner down to the ground, I wanna insert a knee in between his elbow and knee so that he can't just simply connect his arms back together and begin thinking about creating posts to stand up. Once we got him down to the ground, we can secure his bottom wrist control so that we can pull it across his body. Now that we're pulling it across his body, we can create pressure with our chest to back to insert our knee on the inside. We can slightly drop to our hips so that we can insert our bottom hook so that we can take control of our partner. Now we can let go of our same side arm that's on the bottom and post on the mat. Now as we begin to turn back into our partner, we can choose to throw that second hook in so that we can start to flatten them out, or we don't have to throw that second hook in. But if we do flatten them out here, now we can start to take this hand and begin working in for our rear naked choke from our partner's flattened out position. We'll just go ahead and we'll put our partner in the turtle position for a different situation. As I'm here and I'm dominating from the top turtle position, my partner begins trying to stand up without controlling my hands. As he stands up, I'm able to get up before him so that I can lift him up and bring him right back down to the mat. He begins standing up. I'm already on my feet so that I can lift, pop my hips, and bring my partner back down. One more time. He lifts. As he comes up, I pop my hips and I bring my partner back down. Now, your intention is to turn your partner so that they have their head start to tilt towards the mat. This is to elicit the response from your partner that you really want. Your partner is going to want to block their face so that they don't hit themselves. And if their hands hit the mat, it now separates his elbows away from his hips far enough for us to dominate once his hands hit the mat. So, let's start again. He begins standing up. We get our knee to the inside, tight waist, pop our hips, lift him back down, and now we can have our knee back to the inside. We want to control that far side wrist so that it's going to be hard for him to build base. Now we can start inserting our knee, and then we can start placing our hook on the bottom side. We can place it on the mat, throw our hook over the top, and begin flattening our partner out. Once we're here, we're in a pretty good dominant position for us to continue to move.